So in this video, I'm gonna go over how to Forex your business in less than 6 months. Who is this for? This is for an entrepreneur or business owner who's wearing every single hat inside of their business. They're doing everything. They're doing sales, fulfillment, operations, marketing, customer support. Ultimately, they're overworked and they're underpaid. This is probably you. You probably look similar to this squirrel wearing a bunch of different hats. And we don't want you to be wearing all the hats. We want you to actually be able to scale your business. Now, before we get started, a little bit about my background. My name is Benjamin Morone. I work in software sales. I was a consultant at the #1 HubSpot growth partner in the US, and then I worked in the info product industry. Now I own VA Task. We have 20 plus reps that have been placed, and we're giving entrepreneurs their weekend back. Part of this video is going to be a case study breakdown. We're going to go over what it looked like for my client before she started outsourcing and what it looked like for her after. And then we're going to go over that transformation on how did this actually happen. So Amanda before outsourcing was super stressed out here, like Elaine from Seinfeld. She had too many projects and she wasn't able to manage them. She was functioning as a solopreneur, and so she had to wear all the hats. If she had a sick day, she had to power through and get the projects done, due on a deadline. She was struggling to remove herself from the business and felt trapped. She couldn't see if she was actually making actual progress inside of her business, ultimately being burdened with excessive responsibilities, leading to a state of chronic overwork. This led to a constant state of stress and anxiety as she struggled to keep up with her workload. Now, Amanda after outsourcing. Despite the continued growth of high number projects, her decision to outsource allowed for more efficient management of her workload. A fulfillment team, a research team gave her dedicated manpower capable of assisting her with the operations and fulfillment side of the business. Now, without getting bogged down by the day-to-day tasks, she was able to redirect her focus and pull high leverage levers. Outsourcing brought her back a sense of peace and tranquility that she no longer had to bear the full weight of her business alone. She went from looking like Elaine, super overwhelmed with the volume of projects, to now looking like Bugs Bunny, enjoying life and really seeing the freedom that running a business can give you. Now, how did this transformation actually happen? It occurred with strategic outsourcing. It allowed for the creation of a more balanced and sustainable work environment for Amanda. She's no longer the technician inside of her business. She's the business owner who's working on the business instead of inside of the business. She's removed herself from operations inside of her business. So we're going to go into how to remove yourself from your business. First, you need to identify what is causing the headache. Ask yourself, what do you not like doing? What are you not good at? What is not actually making you money? What's not moving that needle forward inside of your business? You should be able to list 3 under these categories. If not, do a time audit. So a time audit is over 48 hours or 72 hours. Write down every single thing that you're doing inside of your business. Now, this is kind of monotonous, it's tough, but it helps you identify what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Once you have a list of what you've done in this time audit, you can put them into these lists. It'll make it a lot easier to outsource and get that desired result in the end. So I'm gonna go over the Pareto principle real quick, but roughly 80% of the results come from approximately 20% of the work. Now, your job as a business owner is to focus all 100% of your efforts on this 20% of work. It's gonna drive that 80% of the results. I get it, you're a solopreneur, so you have to do everything now, but there's a lot of tasks that you shouldn't be doing that aren't high leverage that you should outsource to strategic outsourcing partners. Now that we have the tasks listed out, we can follow these 4 steps to effectively find talent and train them properly. Pay attention to the order here. A lot of times people do this out of order and it doesn't really make sense. They don't hire the right person and ultimately they waste time as a business owner. So the first step is grouping the tasks. Now, we want to group the tasks because it's easier to actually create a job description from this. It's easier to find someone who's really good at a certain set of tasks than, hey, here's 90 tasks, learn how to do them all. If I know I need someone who's really good at social media, I'm gonna hire out someone who can do these social media tasks. If I need someone who's really good at website building, I'm gonna hire someone out who can do these website building tasks only. Not someone who does everything, not someone who is a Swiss Army knife. That is a mistake. You can group them by software tools, so G Suite, Google Docs, Excel, let's say ClickUp, project management tools, whatever that may be. And then also by skill level, right? So is it a copy paste task? Is it something that needs a little bit higher level knowledge? Is it something that basically you need to only do? What does that look like? Different talent's gonna cost different. And so we need to make sure that these tasks are effectively grouped by the skill level. And then second is by hours. So some of these tasks are something that you do once a month, once a year. Others ones are things that you need done every single day. So example task for Amanda was research. So she has a grant writing company where she does a lot of research where we're trying to find grants. We're trying to figure out where different ways that we can get our clients funded. So this is something that she does every day and it's very monotonous. This is something that we decided to outsource based on skill level and then by hours. Project management, something that is done every day, but it takes a little bit less time. This This is also something that we decided to outsource because she was doing so much project management herself. It was kind of that next level of outsourcing. So we put someone in who could do the research, and then we put in a project manager to overwatch and make sure that things were moving along on time with those deadlines. Now that we have the task group, we're going to move on to the second step, which is establishing effective procedures. Now for task identification, what we want to do is write down the task summary in the most simple form, so simple that a 12-year-old can understand it. Then we're going to record the whole procedure. So you could use Loom or a similar screen recording software and go through the task. So let's say I was going to like Facebook or making a Facebook post. I would just record this whole process, talk my way through it. So later we can take that video, that Loom, and then chop it up, get screenshots, and make the standard operating procedure that I will explain here in this third step. So we're going to utilize the standard operating procedure format. These SOPs, these standard operating procedures, are going to be the blueprint for the person who you're hiring to actually follow, how to do these tasks. Here's an SOP template that I created. Purpose, this is where the task identification comes in, where it's very, very simple. Almost a 12-year-old can understand it. It's basically, why are you actually doing this SOP? How is it relevant? We're going to put that Loom video in, and we'll later refine it. Context. Why are they doing this? How does this relate to what you're doing inside of the business in another area? Is this operation side? Is it sales side? How does this tie into the big picture of your business? Terminologies, any unfamiliar terms they might be confused with, you put here. Tools, any tools they need access to, like a HubSpot, a ClickUp. Maybe they need access to Facebook to do the posting. This is where you would link those tools. Roles and responsibility. Who's actually going to be doing this SOP? Is it a marketing team? Is it a certain VA? Is it a certain person? That's where you put them. And then the procedure, the step-by-step screenshots and written step-by-step procedure on how to actually do the task that you're outsourcing. Eventually, we need to edit and refine this. So we're going to have our first SOP. It's going to be pretty basic, probably about 80% of the way there. We're going to have them do the task and later refine with their feedback. So since you're the business owner, it's all up here. It seems all perfect, super easy to do the task. But then when you teach it to someone, it's not going to be quite perfect. You're going to be able to teach them about 80%. You need to bring them that rest of the way with the 20 by training them, talking to them, and also refining that SOP. Something that I like to do is also put in place at this stage an end of day or time tracking system. So we've used check-in. You could do like a type form at the end of the day. What did you work on? How many hours you spent? Or you could use Clockify, which is like a time tracking software. I like to use Clockify. Time tracking works just fine inside of our business with our 20 plus placements. But I actually put an end of day report in here. This is an example. Let's say it's for someone who's doing social media posts. So this is the date, number of social media posts they made, clients they made it for, number of posts awaiting approval, then the hours worked on the task. This is a way for you to track their hours and make sure they're actually hitting KPIs that you have put out. The next section of this is building a job description and actually looking for the talent. The number one way to find virtual assistants or remote talent is private or referral sources. I want to work with people who are already vetted, so the majority of people that we work with are vetted from our current VAs and current workforce. You can use online platforms. I'm going to talk about Upwork and Fiverr. I don't like using them. I don't source them for clients or internally. We don't use Upwork or Fiverr to source our talent, but it does work for some people. I find it works best for kind of short-term contracts where you need maybe a graphic designer 1-2 hours a week. It doesn't make sense for longer-term engagements. The next step is conducting screening interviews. I like to do about 15-minute interviews. These are very quick, just trying to verify that English level and then also see how they are from a personality and culture fit. I don't want to work with someone that I dislike, so I want to just kind of get along with them on the call and see how that goes. A lot of times when you're hiring remotely, people try to force themselves to be the perfect fit for the job. And so I don't want to basically put them in a scenario where it's all about the job and it's not all about them. I want to kind of just see how they are in a very, very light, no pressure interview, and then I'll invite them into a second interview or extend that interview into a formal process. One of the best hiring tips that I have is using humor. So this is one of the best ways to assess the true English level of a candidate. People will put C1, they'll put B2. I don't really know what their English level is until I actually speak to them. And I can tell from joking with them and maybe using a little bit of a sarcasm what their English level is based on the reaction. If they get it and they're like, okay, yeah, like haha, or they laugh, or even if they don't laugh, but I can tell they understand it, that's awesome because I know that they speak English. If they have zero idea what I'm talking about or they get slightly offended, and their English level is pretty poor. I kind of hit on this when I'm using the humor for interviews, but assessing that English proficiency, you really do not know until you actually talk to them. That's why I have the 15-minute interview, because I don't want to schedule a 30 or 40-minute time slot for a real interview with someone who barely speaks English. It's a waste of both of our times. So the next step in this process is onboarding. So it's essential to provide the talent with a clear understanding of the procedures and then also the communication channels. These communication channels could be Slack, they could be email, they could be phone. I like to limit down to one. I like to use Slack almost for everything. We're going to brief the talent on the procedures. I don't want the first time that they see the SOPs to be on that onboarding call, because I'm going to be talking to them and explaining things about our company, about our culture, and they're going to be looking at the SOPs like, oh my God, like this is a lot to do, right? And so what we want to do is the night before or a couple nights before, we want to give them access to the SOPs. Say, read through this. If you have any feedback, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. And then we'll iron that out on that onboarding call. So they come to the call already knowing what's expected of them and how to actually move forward and start on day one instead of starting on day 2 or 3, because now they understand they had to ask me a couple questions. The next section is emphasizing the communication channels and setting up those communication channels. I want the new hire to only contact me on Slack or email. I don't want them contacting me on phone, Viber, Telegram, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, like everything at once. We want to siphon all the communication into one section. This makes it much more clear and easier to scale because we don't have a bunch of conversations happening all at the same time everywhere. The next section is time tracking. So I like to use Clockify for time tracking. They can clock in, clock out. They can actually track how long a certain project is taking them. This helps a lot when you're paying them on a contract basis. Continued training. So when I first onboard someone into a company, I know that I need to meet with them 2 to 3 times a week in the first couple of weeks, first 2 to 3 weeks, to make sure that they really understand what they're doing inside of my company. This allows me to get feedback on my onboarding process, but also allows me to ramp them up over time and see how they do with the tasks. It allows me to actually get an accurate judge of how are they feeling about their fit inside of the company, not only from a procedure and productivity point, but also like how do they feel culturally inside of our company? Are they enjoying the fit inside of the company? I can get feedback from that. So in conclusion, or with a recap of this video, the first step is to identify what is limiting you, what is holding back your company from growth, what tasks you're doing that you really should not be doing inside of your business. That next step is building those standard operating procedures, making those exact blueprints so you can teach it to someone else and make their full-time role helping you with these minor tasks. Third step is building a solid job description and doing a talent search. Remember, the private referral networks are the best way to source talent. The fourth is knowledge transfer and training. So once you share your expertise with someone, you're gonna have to continually follow up in the first couple of weeks to make sure they're hitting everything, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. You're gonna get feedback on your onboarding process, which will make you a better entrepreneur and make the second time you hire a lot easier. Now, if you need help getting remote talent, our team will build all the SOPs, we'll find, interview, and vet the talent, and then train them on those SOPs and procedures inside of your business. If this sounds like something that would be beneficial, click the first link in the description. Thank you.